Over the lifetime of this channel, I made a few different videos relating to vaping DMT and the various techniques and pieces of equipment that you can use to accomplish this. But you know, things change over time, new products come onto the market, and some items which were once readily available become discontinued. And there's different bits of information all over the place which can seem overwhelming to someone who just wants to know what works. So with that in mind, I'm creating this video to compile all this stuff into one place to make it easily accessible. I'll talk about the various different methods of vaping DMT, things from glass pipes to vape liquid to pure freebase vaporizers like the e-mesh, and I'll give you the pros and cons of each. Maybe you are brand new to all of this, or maybe you just want a refresher on the different possibilities that are out there. Either way, this video has got you covered. Since I first tried DMT many moons ago, then the situation for how you actually consume this stuff has changed a lot. You know, once upon a time, your only option was basically some form of a glass pipe. But these days, there's an almost overwhelming number of options available. That said, those options tend to fall into one of four main categories: glass pipes, liquid in either juice tanks or pre-filled cartridges, the e-mesh, or miscellaneous bullshit which doesn't really work. And needless to say, I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time on that last subject, but believe me, I've tried my fair share of it. Now, it would be impossible to show every possible brand of pipe and vape available on the entire market. So what I'm going to do is go into detail on the categories I've just listed. I'll show you what I personally use, explain why I use it, and provide some information on where you can get it. And I'll put links in the description below to all that stuff. And yes, I am aware that some of the things I recommended in my previous e-mesh video are no longer being manufactured. So I'll give you some alternatives which are easily available right now. Also, I'm going to separate this video out into different chapters covering each topic, and you can also find those timestamps in the description below. So let's get started with glass pipes. When I was a boy, all we had was a glass pipe with which to smoke our spice. It was simple, but that's all we needed. You young folk born today don't realise how lucky you are with all your fancy gizmos and gadgets. Yes, we were poor, but we were happy. We had 1 milligram of DMT between the entire family, but we made the best of it. Not like the wasteful youth of today, boofing it up their arseholes and all sorts of nonsense. What the fuck is wrong with these people? Have they no... Okay, Grandad, time to get you back to the old folks' home. Let's start with the absolute basics of using a glass pipe like this, which is typically referred to as an oil burner, although we could just as easily be talking about something like the homemade pipe known as the Machine, or one of the fancier brands like a Vapor Genie. Either way, we're basically talking about glass meeting heat from a lighter and hopefully evaporating DMT. Now, this pipe I'm showing here is the actual original one I used for all my early expeditions into the DMT world, way before I even thought about making videos for YouTube, and you know what? It works. It's not fancy, it's not the easiest method, it's not particularly efficient, but it fucking works. And for something which has had a longer lifespan than some of my household pets, what more do you want? So why would you use a glass pipe like this? Well, firstly, because of the price. This pipe cost me about $3, and it was about another $5 for a decent torch lighter. This means that for anyone who saw some DMT and wants to try it out, this is the cheapest and simplest way to test the water. And honestly, this is what I would recommend to any newbie. Test it out first as cheaply as possible. See if you like it, because some people don't. And if you do, then start looking into getting something a bit fancier. There is a bit of technique to doing it with a glass pipe like this, but I have a video which demonstrates that for you in a nice, simple, step-by-step way, and I'll leave a link to that at the top of the screen, so go and check that out. You know, I got many breakthroughs over many years from this pipe, and it still has a place in my toolbox. So the pros are that it's cheap and cheerful and it does the job. Also, it's super portable. The cons are that the technique takes a little bit of learning, it's not super efficient, and it's not particularly fancy. So where can you get this? Glass pipes are readily available online, even from places like Amazon. Just search for oil burner and you will be spoilt for choice, but I've left a link below. Liquid vaping. Next, let's look at what I use for vaping DMT that has been mixed with vape liquid and talk about which situations I would use that for. So there are two main starting points. Either you've bought a pre-filled cartridge or you've made your own DMT infused vape juice. Now, I already made a video all about how to make your own DMT vape juice and in why I think it's a much better idea than buying cartridges. So I'll leave a link to that up above. But basically it says, I think it's nearly always a better idea to make your own vape juice and use a tank like this. So now we're in the world of electronic vapes. And for both this category of juice vaping and the e-mesh, which I'll show next, there is some overlap here in what I use, and I'll show you what I mean. The controls on the battery of the vape is in this main body part, which is called a mod box. And this is what supplies the electricity and therefore heat to whatever I attach on top of it. And I attach different components to do different things. See, now it's a liquid vape tank. But see, now it's a dry herb vape for changa or weed. And now it's an e-mesh, and more on that later. But hopefully you get the point. By using a mod box like this, I get a lot of versatility. And so it's worth investing in a decent one that will give you enough power and control to do what you want to do. And not all of these things are the same. Some of them just don't have enough oomph to get the job done. So I can absolutely recommend this particular one. It's made by Geek Vape and the model is the Aegis Solo. Again, links in the description below, and this will cost you somewhere in the region of about 40 bucks just for this mod box. And then you'll have to separately buy the various attachments I just showed you, depending on which ones you want. So you can see the cost is definitely creeping up a bit. Anyway, that covers the mod box, which provides the power, but let's attach the vape tank that contains the liquid and talk about that. So here I stick with the Geek Vape brand and I use the Zeus model. And I got myself a nice curved glass drip tip just to make it even easier to toke on, but that's entirely optional. The Zeus atomizer will cost somewhere in the region of 30 bucks and the glass drip tip is only a couple of quid. Links are in the description below. Now this setup is superb for vape liquid, certainly the best I've come across after trying various different styles of pens and cartridges, which just aren't in the same league in my opinion. Now my old mate Minty has just done a superb video which does a really good job of giving a good technical breakdown on this particular tank, so I'll link to that. But the bottom line from me is that for DMT liquid vaping, this is the way to go for several reasons. It's fairly simple to use. I wouldn't say it's entirely idiot proof as you do have various rubber seals and interlocking parts that you have to get your head around, but you don't need a degree in electrical engineering to use it. So the pros. If you buy this mod box or something similar, then you are set up for a lot of different options just by swapping the attachments. It's reasonably priced, it's available pretty much everywhere, and it's very well made. For the Zeus tank, again, it's very well made. You attach it to the mod box, you fill it up with liquid, and you are pretty much good to go. Now, one quick point about these liquid tanks is that if you don't keep them vertical, then they can leak DMT juice all over the fucking place, and that will seriously piss on your chips. To make things a bit easier for myself, when I'm swapping the different attachments, I made myself this stand out of a chunk of tinfoil to keep it upright. So whenever the tank is not in use, it just sits in there. Now this is not the fanciest solution, but it's better than wasting a full tank of high strength DMT liquid just because the fucking thing rolled over when the cat brushed past it. The cons of this solution? Honestly, not much other than the price, which again, I don't think is particularly egregious. So if you want to go down this liquid vape DMT route, then this is my recommendation. The e-mesh. Okay, so now we get on to what I have previously referred to as the Ferrari of DMT vaping. And today, even after several years and messing around with a lot of different gimmicky pieces of shit, I stand by that statement. If you want a nice, clean, smooth, one-hit DMT breakthrough, this is it. It is still the best solution that I am aware of. Now, there's a lot to unpack about this device, but just to recap what I've talked about in the previous section, this is the same mod box that I covered there. So all we're doing is changing this part on top. We take off the Zeus tank and we attach this mesh RDA instead. Now, I already made a detailed video all about what the e-mesh is and how it works, so I'll leave a link to that at the top so I don't have to repeat everything here. If you haven't seen that, maybe pause this video and go and watch it, because then you'll know what the fuck I'm talking about. But the basic gist is that you put your dose of spice on here, you just tip the powder straight on, there's no need to make it into a liquid, you put the cap on, press the button, and within 10 seconds it vaporizes the entire lot and you get completely off your tits. Have a nice psychedelic breakthrough with one smooth hit. So, what's the problem? Well, since I made that video, a lot of the components that I used to make the e-mesh have been discontinued. So I very often get messages from people who've seen my video, wanted to try it out for themselves, but when they looked for the parts that I talked about, they couldn't find them. Specifically, the Van de Vape RDA, which almost immediately became as rare as rocking horse shit. Luckily, for psychonauts like us, you can now buy extremely cheap and well-made alternatives from Wish.com. Now, I know Wish.com has a bit of a sketchy reputation for selling dodgy, poorly made crap, but I ordered a couple of these RDAs from them. They cost less than a tenner each, and they are just as solid as my original 30 quid Geek Vapes. So honestly, these things are an absolute bargain, and I'll put the link to the vendor in the description below. Okay, so now you should be able to buy all the things you need to make an e-mesh. Now let's talk about a couple of things you might want in order to make it a better experience from a usability perspective. One of the main problems I highlighted in that previous video was how much of a pain in the ass that e-mesh is to reload. It's just really fiddly to get your spice onto the small mesh surface without spilling it everywhere. But there are a couple of things you can do to make this easier. Firstly, you can buy these small metal funnels which you can simply hold over your mesh, tip in your spice, and then pat it down into a solid kind of cake. I gave it a quick pulse at a low temperature to bind it together, and then it should stick to the mesh and you're good to go. And these small metal funnels will cost about $5 for a packet of 4 on Amazon. Another solution I've been working on is this specially made e-mesh loading funnel. It sits over the top of your e-mesh, you tip in your stuff, pat it down, again, quick pulse of heat, and there you go, a nice compact DMT biscuit. Now, this has been designed and made by myself and a friend of mine, so if you're interested in ordering one, then drop me an email at the address shown below. So, the pros of the e-mesh is that it's the best one-hit breakthrough tool that is available, in my opinion. The cons are that the parts are not widely available, so really you need to buy the RDA from Wish.com and that it's very fiddly to reload. But hopefully that can be somewhat alleviated by the various funnel tools that I've just shown earlier. Miscellaneous bullshit which doesn't work. Now, every so often in the DMT community, some post will appear online about the next big thing in smoking DMT, with people claiming that this is the best solution ever, or it's absolutely amazing, or it blows everything else out the water, or blah, 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 blah. And I've tried a lot of these things, and honestly, they vary between being somewhat disappointing and utter fucking garbage. I've actually just pissed 50 bucks up the wall by purchasing one of these things that somebody was touting as amazing, and it's complete dog shit. I'll probably actually make a video about it because I just want to show how bad some of these things are compared to what people say about them online. Anyway, I just want to say, be careful about what you spend your money on, and if you're going to follow someone's advice, then make sure it's someone that you trust. Hopefully that has given you some insight into what I use, why I use it, and where you can buy it from. If you have any questions about these things, then feel free to post them in the comments below, or come and join our Discord server, which allows for a bit of an easier dialogue. A big thank you, as always, to those who financially support my channel. It's through the support of my patrons that I can afford to test these things out, so as always, my deepest gratitude to all of you guys. Like I mentioned in my last video, I'm currently in the process of writing a book, and it's coming along pretty well. I occasionally post excerpts from it on the Discord server, so if you want a sneak preview, go and check that out. Also, I've had some really kind offers from people who are looking to help out, so it looks like it's all coming together, and stay tuned for more news on that front. So yeah, that's it for this on DMT vaping. I think that's about all I've got to say, and I will catch you guys next time on Adeptus Psychonautica.